Hi, my name is Nick and I'm with Atlantic Laser Scanning Services. Atlantic Laser Scanning is a dealer for Inertial Labs RESEPI Lidar units, meaning we have the ability to rent the units to our customers as well as sell the units to our customers. In this video today, we're going to sort of combine some of the previous videos that we've got out with a little bit more detail. And different portions of the video, I'm going to come on, break in, and draw your attention to some of the different things that are happening. We've got these videos that have been out for some time, and we've noticed that there are some important points that we don't want people to miss. So right now, we have Seth Berry, who's going to go ahead and take us through mounting our antenna to the drone, mounting the drone and the LiDAR system together, programming the LiDAR to get it ready to go out and collect the data, and also creating flight routes to, number one, do the calibration figure 8 flight, number two, to actually set up your flight path for collecting the data. Now, in this video, we're going to also assume that you are already setting up your ground control points before you do this. You've got your base and your rover already set up. And most importantly, the base station is on and collecting data. This needs to happen for at least 15 minutes prior to starting your flight. Again, we've got Seth Berry from Global Hawk Maps who's going to walk us through it. Thanks and good luck.
Most importantly, you're going to have all the parts you need, such as your antenna. Pretty much a GoPro clip mount that has a double-sided sticker, 3M sticker. I've kind of preset one up, but for the most part, it's just one of these little double-sided units. Take one side off and you'll stick it to this little clip. And you're going to go ahead and stick it right to the top of the center of the drone in front of the light at your best place. It's out of the way of any of the 360 side mounts, or 360 visual mounts, to make sure you're not going to run into anything. And you just clip that on. So I found the best way to actually clip it on and have a little sturdiness to it is clip it in there first. Gives you something to hold on to. Unpeel that part of the sticker. I personally like facing it forward myself this way, so stick that to your drone. Gives you some surface area to press onto. Now we have your mount attached, and you can disconnect it whenever you want. If you'd like to keep that on your drone for when you rent the next time, it's there. And clip that back on. And what I do myself is I take this antenna. You have to make sure it's clear of these propellers. I'll take it and I'll wrap it directly under the leg, and then go right up in here, and I'll go right to maybe the single gimbal mount or something to that effect, and we'll just let it dangle there until we're ready. You're going to remove the leather cover, which protects it from scratches. And right here is where you're going to screw on your antenna. They'll screw right together, and you can do it after you connect it. So to connect it, we're going to line up the white dot, and personally, I find it easiest to remove the lens cap first because I've forgotten a few times, and I'm really good at forgetting to take it off if I start setting it up without. So anyway, back to lining it up. We put the white dot on the red dot, hold right here and push it together, and you're going to kind of twist it around counterclockwise until you hear a click or feel a click, and you align the two red dots. Now we know it's locked. And then we just screw the antenna right into the attached port here. There we go. And that gives us our GNSS signal for the IMU to line up and everything else. Your Wi-Fi antenna should already be attached. If it's not, and it's not screwed in, it's going to be this antenna here. Kind of has a 90-degree foldable to it. It says Wi-Fi. You screw it on there onto the Wi-Fi attachment and then fold it down. I usually aim it towards the ground. Unless you're flying really far away from yourself and need to attach, it really doesn't matter which direction it's folded as long as you have it attached. So, before we do anything else and we move forward at all, we're going to make sure and we insert the USB drive. And that goes in right over here. Just below the antenna, you'll see a thing that says USB for an insert slot. You're just going to slide it in right there. Push just softly enough till it stops. All right. From there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up our mission plan.
So the first flight path that Seth is going to show us how to do is actually not for collecting data. There has to be a figure 8 flown in order to calibrate the equipment prior to starting the data collection portion. This is a really unique idea to pre-program that flight path because it's not something that everybody really is comfortable doing. The figure 8 can be a bit challenging. Give this a try.
Hello, so now that we are in the controller, we are going to click on Flight Route right there, and we're going to create a route. The type of route we're going to create for this figure 8 shortcut is going to be a waypoint route. We click on the waypoint route and we set waypoints. We're not doing a live mission record, we are going to set waypoints. So once we get that opened up, we are going to go to where the flight mission will be, which in our case for this demo is going to be right there in the center. We're doing the roundabout with the pump jack. We'll label this figure 8 flight route shortcut. Alright, now that that's done, there's a very important step that we need to do. It's all the way at the bottom of the second route window. We need to change waypoint type right here to coordinated turn skips waypoint. So that way it's a continuous turn. It does not stop at each waypoint and turn and then continue on. From there, we're going to change the relative altitude to whatever our flight altitude is. My flight altitude close to 100 feet, so we'll make that 100 feet. The speed will always be over 15. I'll just put it at like 20, 25, somewhere in there. That gives us an average speed of over 15 miles an hour no matter what. We know we're safe. You can max it out if you want to just to be safe. It doesn't matter because once you get close to the turn, it'll set a 10-yard default turn and you'll be alright from there. So now we're going to shrink that window, and then we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we'll make our first start point right about there. We're going to go maybe 300-400 feet away. That'll give us our excuse me, that'll give us our straight 3 to 5 second flight of 15 miles an hour minimum, give or take right about there, and kind of drag it out to about 400 feet so we know we're safe, and move it down there. So okay, and then from there, after we have our straight line, we can make our 2 figure 8s by making 2 hourglass figures. So we're going to make our second point, basically is now the start point because we have our finished straight line. We'll go about 100 feet. We can shorten it so it's give or take close to 100 feet. Now that we can use that different distance as a rough idea, we'll double that, say about 200 feet. 100 feet, 200 feet, and then what we're going to do, because we can't click on these or they're going to start moving for, like, say if we go to click by number 3, it'll think we're clicking number 3 and move that. So we'll click out here and we'll move that down to where it looks like it's about close to 100 feet. And we'll do the same thing up here, close to 100 feet. You can almost drop it on the same points. Get close, drop it close to the same points. Doesn't have to be exact. We'll drop one out here, drag it to the same point. We'll do one more over here just for good measure, because it doesn't have to be exactly 2 figure eights. It just needs to be 2 lefts, 2 rights, 2 lefts, 2 rights. That's what they want, and that's what they'll tell you when they tell you to do your 2 figure eights. They just, for some reason, have everybody fly it manually. Now, since we're going to finish back where we started and make sure it's a straight line, we can just drop a line over here, drag that down to where we started, finish right where we started, and we can save that flight route by clicking the save button up in the top left corner there. Now we're good. Now we have our flight mission.
Up our flight mission now, which looks a little something like this in the area we're going to fly. Me personally, I always set up excess overlap, so when I went in and I set up the mission, which I'll show you how we did by going into the mission and tapping the edit button, which is the pencil in the top right corner. And we're going to go to advanced settings. I usually set up a 75-75 for side overlap, frontal overlap, and at about a 5-foot margin minimum, sometimes up to 20 feet, depending on what the project you're doing is. This one, for example, is not a legal survey, so I don't need more than 5 feet. If you're doing a legal survey, I recommend at least 10-foot overlap, if not 20. So when you crop the point clouds out or the map out, you can cut out the excess you want, but you have more than enough data than not enough. It's always better to have more than not enough. So go ahead and save that mission back, and we're done there.
Here's a point of emphasis that Seth is going to mention, but I want to drive it home. He says that the drone itself may be powered on, but the LiDAR unit is not powered on yet. He needs to make sure, emphasizing that the ground control, the base unit, is up and running for at least 15 minutes prior to starting up or powering up the LiDAR unit. So the base has got to be powered up, collecting data from the satellites for at least 15 minutes prior to starting the LiDAR unit.
Now that we have the drone turned on, we have not turned on the XT32 LiDAR unit yet. That is a separate task. Okay, so we've got everything here ready to go, and the LiDAR unit's about ready to be turned on. But we want to make sure that we've started the recording on our base station. We know our base is recording. Our drone's ready to go. We've uploaded our mission, and we have our 2 figure eights, which are the 2 hourglass flight missions we set up. When we turn this on, it only takes 1.5 to 1 second push. You'll see the 3 lights come on. That's how you know you're going to start. I'll show you what that looks like when we turn it on. Quick push. We're not holding it down, we're just waiting just long enough for all 3 lights to be on. We're going to open up our Wi-Fi settings. So we're going to go into our Wi-Fi settings. I've already connected to it here, but it's going to show up as a RESEPI C6 3DB. You'll see it. As long as it says RESEPI, you're within the range of it. Click on that. Your password will be LiDAR and INS as follows. Take a look at the image with the capital L, capital A, and the capital INS. Alright, go back out of that, and then when we go into our browser, we're we're going to notice that there's nothing, no Wi-Fi, there's no way to connect, so we're just going to type in 192.168.12.1. And after you're connected to the Wi-Fi, to RESEPI, you can go into the browser, type 192.168.12.1, and it'll bring up this menu. So, now that we have this menu brought up, what we'll see is how many antenna or satellites are attached, which we're up to 30. Like I said, I would prefer. And everything looks good. So we're going to go to menu, go to storage. Here is our USB drive. There's no saved previous projects, so you have no need to format, but just in case, if you'd like to, you can hit format. If you have any projects you've done previously, make sure they are backed up on another drive or your PC before you do. While formatting this USB stick, make sure you realize you cannot format it on any PC or desktop in a quick format setting. It has to be formatted on the Lidar unit, on the XT32 unit itself. It uses a special exFAT32 format. If you do make a mistake and format it, call Atlantic Laser. All right, we've got that done. So, go back to status. We can name our project for our project folder, and we're going to call it Demo XT32. We'll save that. It's in green, it says custom file name has been saved. All right, now, settings and geometry. So you go into settings and geometry, and where it says camera trigger right here, we're going to change that. Since we're going pretty slow, we'll say every 3 seconds. It's important not to take too many photos. Everybody thinks that they should set it down to maybe like 1 second, so it takes as many photos as possible. The issue with that is you're going to get too much overlap, blurs the mapping and blurs the images, and then your colorized point cloud will not turn out as accurate. The points will always be the same, but your colorized will not be as good, and your 2D ortho map won't turn out as good if you use the imaging. So we'll go back into status, and once we're ready to go, we're going to go ahead and hit start. So once we start recording, we're going to hear the camera start taking pictures every 3 seconds, and as you can see, we are recording data into our file name, and we're good to go.
We've got the base station that's been powered up, collecting satellite data for no less than 15 minutes. The drone itself has now been powered up. The LiDAR unit is now powered up. It's been programmed. It's beginning to collect data. Prior to taking off with the drone, we're going to need to wait at least 30 to 60 seconds. Once that's passed, we can take off. We can begin the calibration flight and the data collection flight. Once again, once we land, 30 to 60 seconds prior to turning the LiDAR off.
Now that we've got it recording, you can hear the camera taking pictures. We've got it every 3 seconds like we wanted. We're going to go ahead and start our mission. So, I'm going to hit start mission. Start. Start. And we should be good to go. After we see it fly its 2 figure eights, which is a separate mission, we're just going to go ahead and start up our second mission while the drone's still in the air. We don't let it fully return to home. There's no need for that. It's still recording data. So the minute that you see it finished and it starts beeping to return to home, stop the return to home, start your next mission. that we got the mission completed, we're going to let this run static for at least 30 seconds. Good for a minute, just 30 seconds is all you need though. Now that we are in phone again, I will show you. We are going to make sure we turn the Wi-Fi back on and we reattach to the RESEPI unit. Okay, so it looks like once I turned it on already, it's going to be attaching directly to it. Once in a while it'll choose the base first. Doesn't really matter. You just make sure and switch it back to the LiDAR unit, and then you open up your URL, 192.168.121. Go in and we're going to tell it to stop recording. It's ran its full static 1 minute. We have not turned off our base yet. Make sure you remember that. You always run the base starting it very first. Before you even set your drone up, you want to set up your base. The last thing you do, the very last thing you do, even after you put the drone away, everything, then turn off your base. Don't turn your base off until you're completely finished. You may need to take off and fly it again. You don't know. So the very last thing you do, if, for example, you've landed and finished your mission and you realize, oh, golly gee, I forgot to put the USB stick in. Now I got to fly it again. You didn't turn your base off. You haven't shut that down. It's collecting static data, so it's in good shape. Just make sure you do that last. Now that we've got it stopped, it shows start, which means that it is not running. We can go in, and if you want to double check, we can tap on storage and it will show us our project, so we know it collected data. 6.4 gigs, as it was only a 3.5 minute mission. That's exactly what we were looking for. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect from that and shut the drone down, and we'll get back with you. We've got our drone, we've got our data. We're going to go ahead and we're going to turn this off. You can do it through the Wi-Fi setting. I prefer to do it right here. I can physically know it's shut off. Hold it down for 4 to 5 seconds and you will see it turn off. Make sure you hit stop recording data before you shut it off. Don't ever shut it off first, as the data might not store and you might lose everything you just collected. Then once it's turned off, that's when you can remove the USB. We're going to set that right here, right in front of me, or put it somewhere safe, your pocket, wherever, somewhere you know you're not going to lose it. Then we start detaching things since we're done with our mission. And we'll be in good shape, and we'll see on the computer with the data. The very last thing you do again is turn off that base station. Put your drone away, put everything away, make sure you have the collected data on the USB drive. Everything you've got is good, then turn the base off.